I am open to the evolution of my soul. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. My next step is here and now. And so it is. Okay, you can raise it now, please. What creates real and lasting change? They have a saying in Unity that every other denomination, people go to church because they're afraid of hell. People who go to Unity have already been there. And I think that's true for us too. That what we do, what we see, and how real change happens is when we pass through that point of where it feels so hard, it feels impossible, it feels like nothing will ever shift, and yet we stick with what it is we know to be true. We hang in there and we hunker down with the truth. We let go of everything else, right? We've talked a lot about what to hold on to and what to let go of. What you let go of is anything that is not true. What you hold on to is that basic truth that your life works magnificently, that whatever is going on, if you are standing firm in your highest and best truth, things will shift. They have to. And when they do, they are for your best. But to get there, to experience that, you've got to be willing to hang in some of the roughest times you may have in your life. That what happens for most people is when things get tough, they want to change the circumstance. They want to somehow get out. This is too hard. Now, we know this guy who I've talked about a lot named Paladin Gyatso, who has spent 33 years being tortured by the Chinese, so he didn't have the option of changing his circumstances. He didn't have that option. So he realized, not having that option, that what he needed to do was to settle down in some deeper place inside himself. When they put hot irons on his feet, when they electrocuted his testicles, when they stuck a cattle prod in his mouth, knocking out all his teeth, he had no place to go, nowhere to run except within himself. And came out of that the most enlightened man on the planet, as stated by the Dalai Lama. Now, I am not at all recommending getting tortured by the Chinese. Just so we're clear, that is not my recommendation. But what I am saying here is if he can do it through that, what are you going through that's that tough? What are you going through that is at that level of uncomfortableness, of pain, of danger, that you are trying so hard to run from instead of sit in and say, I know there's something deep within myself. There's something right here, right now that I can shift within me, having nothing to do with these circumstances changing, that will allow me to rise. And in so doing, create permanent and real change. One of the things about growing up in New York City and experiencing all the different things I experienced there, including gang fights where people were knifed and watching a kid get killed by sniffing too much glue, and I'm talking about all before I'm 14. Is you come out of that, I came out of that, realizing once I started traveling cross country at 17 that nothing could intimidate me. There was absolutely nothing I have run into since I'm 17 years old that has had any bit of intimidation, no matter what it was. Real and permanent change. That has made my life in some ways easier. Because I have come up, because I have in the past liked a very wild ride. It has been very useful for me to come up against situations that did not intimidate me, where I could keep my cool, keep my calm, and go through them in a way that actually worked. Otherwise, I'd be dead. And so this is what's possible when we sit in the hardest of times. When we sit in those hard times, and instead of trying to change the circumstance, shifting ourselves. You know, the old saying that we have around here that we repeat all the time, change your thinking, change your life. You know, that old thing. It's deeper than that. I don't think it's that easy. I think it is that simple, but not that easy, because we have our belief systems. We've got all this stuff. We come up against something like, oh my God, this really is a hard situation. There must be a way to shift this situation. There's got to be a way to change this. And then we go and we try to do that, and then many times we succeed in changing the situation, because we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and we actually have the power to shift our situations. But does that create real and permanent change for our lives and in ourselves? And the answer is no. That the odds are, if what you've done is shift the situation, something similar is going to come up again and again and again. Now, how do I know that? Divorce 3 times will kind of tell you that kind of stuff. We have, we will see whatever it is we moved away from in another form that will somehow feel familiar. All of a sudden, you'll be in a situation going, God, this feels so familiar, like I've been here again and again and again. And that'll just keep happening until we reach the point of going, I'm not shifting the situation this time. I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to get out of this what I need to get out of this, so that I can shift. And what I notice is every single time I do that, the situation then takes care of itself anyway. But now, I don't see it again. Not that situation. Not that, we are artichokes, onions, however you want to word it. We take off one layer, there's the next layer, but at least I'm looking at something new, something I really hadn't thought of before, something I really haven't encountered or worked with in terms of the depth of myself. Every time I think I know myself completely, I wind up running into something else that reminds me, well, maybe I don't know myself as well as I thought I did, and there's clearly something else here for me to learn. So there's always more to learn, but why learn the same thing over and over and over when you're in a situation that's really uncomfortable? When you're in a situation that maybe even hurts? Because if all you do is shift the situation, you're going to get it again. Real and permanent change happens when we can shift ourselves. And that's not so easy when things get tough and hard, and we're looking at, if rational mind, we start thinking about, okay, well, this is the physicality, this is the facts, these are the facts. And so there must be something here I need to do to change these facts, because I don't like these facts. My bank account's empty. I just got fired. My relationship's blowing up. I have a health issue that I never had before, or one I have had before, which should even be a bigger warning sign that there's something else going on, that just going to a doctor and getting everything fixed that way isn't really going to do it. There's got to be something deeper here that needs work, because we know in this movement that when we get spiritually clear, really clear, things shift in our physical bodies, in our physical lives, in ways that we didn't even imagine. That happens to me all the time. I am rarely confronted by something that I thought this is the way it was going to be. I was laughing about it just this morning. I'm lying in bed and I was just going over my life, and I was just thinking, what has actually happened in my life that I thought that's the way it was going to go? And I couldn't think of a thing. Not one thing that went the way I had planned. The old saying, that there's an old joke about that, God doesn't laugh louder than when you make plans. And so I have come to the realization for myself that the only thing I ever pray for is full flourishing life. That's it. Because I figure if I'm doing a full flourishing life, then what do I care what the circumstances are? If I feel like I'm full and flourishing and expressing myself and things are going well, what do I actually care what it looks like? And I realized I didn't. I used to. I used to think, I want life to look like this and be like this and do. And then I would go down that road and get slammed this way and that way and the other way. And even when I got what it is I wanted, because I can be, you may not know this about me, but I can be very persistent. Particularly if I want something and think that's the thing that's going to, make me feel better. I'm going to get that thing, right? But I have had enough times where I have gone down that road, been that person who just went boom, 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 got what it is I wanted, and felt miserable at the end of the road. Miserable. You do that enough times and you realize, I do that enough times, and I realize the thing I needed to learn out of all that was that the thing isn't the thing. Whatever the thing is, that's not going to give me what it is I thought it was going to give me. Whatever it is you think is going to give you what you think it's going to give you, it's not going to give you. Doesn't matter. New relationship, new house, new job, new this, new that. It's not going to give you what you think it's going to give you unless you've shifted inside yourself first. Otherwise, all you're going to get confronted with is the same thing you've been confronted with before. So you go into a new situation. God, I listen to people tell me this all the time. I got this new job, and I was going along, and I really thought this was the perfect and right situation. And then all of a sudden, they hired somebody as my boss who is just like my last boss, and I don't know how that happened. Out of nowhere, I was going along. I don't know why they didn't hire me for that job, but they hired somebody else, and that person treats me just the way my last boss did. How can that be? And yet we run into stuff like that all the time, right? Where all of a sudden something feels so darn familiar. Like, I've been here before. This isn't exactly those same circumstances, but I know I've been here before, and I don't like it. And for a lot of folks, what they do at that moment is change the circumstances again. Thus, 3 divorces. I got it right this time. I'm not going anywhere. That's right. And what I've noticed is by hanging in there in the places that got hard in the other relationships, we have real and permanent change. Ash and I'm experiencing in my relationship with my current wife, with the best thing that's ever happened in my life, because I keep shifting. That doesn't mean she isn't brilliant and isn't great. But what happens here is I notice the real and permanent change because I notice those spots in relationship where I get really uncomfortable and I want to run. I mean, there's a part of me that wouldn't mind spending the rest of my days on top of a mountain, playing my guitar, not talking to anybody, not interacting, like monastery-type life with, now that it's legal in California, a joint. But there's a bigger part of me that says, no, I'm here to interact. I'm here to grow. I'm here to create. I'm here to do my life. I'm here to be before you guys and be here doing this in the best way I know how and to keep allowing it to grow in an organic way that keeps allowing me to grow in an organic way. And so I keep looking at those places that are toughest in me, where I get the most uncomfortable, where my stomach goes, right? And nobody here ever experienced that, you know what I'm talking about there? And we have that feeling and we have that experience, right? And everything gets tight. And then having to go, okay, here's another space. Of course, I'm like everybody else. My first reaction is, what can I change? How can I shift these circumstances? I am hating this. But then I got to go, wait a minute, I know that road. I've been down that dead end 1,000,000 times. This is the thing where I got to remember to abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth, right? sitting right out there on the wall. This is the moment. We all have those. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a couple of those every single day where I get up against it, where I'm like facing rubber hits the road time. Either I can change the circumstance or I can get quieter within myself and allow myself to rise. Where I can go, I've been here before. I know this uncomfortability. It's time for me to sit quieter. And when I do that, that's when something shifts. And the way things shift is in ways I never expected. And they're miraculous. It's amazing what's possible here when we follow these teachings, when we take that moment, when we could run, when we could change something, because we can change things. We are really good at changing our circumstances. But that doesn't create real and permanent change. You'll come up against that circumstance again. What you want is to sit quieter at that moment. Remember the truth. Remember that you are a powerful, creative, spiritual being whose life works miraculously. And it can in any moment when we can get quiet enough within ourselves to know who we truly are. We come together on Sundays to remember this, to remember the truth of who we are, to remember that deep sense of the divine within us. But it isn't just for Sunday. What makes this work is when we then take it out and we remember what happened on Sunday, we remembered what we learned in class when something is going on that we don't like, at whatever level we don't like it. Those are the moments. You can either shift the circumstance or you can get deeper within yourself and create real and permanent change. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't even think I'm the same person I was a year ago. Because I can feel the change. I can feel it in all the relationships in my life. How I am loving life so much more every single day. How the circumstances seem to shift on their own as I simply stand in this truth. We are here for a great adventure. We are here to rise to something brilliant. We are here to give our best. And in doing so, then the circumstances come around. Then the life demonstrates. When you go for the demonstration first before the shift within yourself, you're going to see it again. When you are willing to sit, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, and just bubble up within yourself that remembering of the divine that you are, the holy that you are, the sacred that you are, that's when real and permanent change happens. Thank you. I love you. All right. This is time when we pray on someone. Who's going to be our pray on person today? Come on. When we have somebody come up here to be prayed on, it works for everybody. You are feeding the community by taking the spot, by coming up here and allowing yourself to be prayed on. So who's going to come up here and serve our community by being the one that we let the community serve you? Come on. Come on. Tell us what you'd like us to pray for.
I need courage to make a big change in my life, and I need the courage.
All right. We need 8 to 10 folks up here to lay hands on her. Let's take a deep breath, relax, and close your eyes. And we always start within our own hearts. Feel that warmth, that healing, that courageous light within your own heart. Now allow that feeling to come and spread through your whole body. Expanding still to feel it intermingle with the healing, loving, courageous light of everyone in this room. Knowing that we are more powerful together to create real change. And now send this healing, loving light into Sue. This courageous light, so that it can course through her veins, knowing that whatever change is before her happens magnificently, beautifully, wonderfully. Knowing the essence of Sue's life is magnificent, courageous, adventurous, wonderful. And I am so grateful for the power and presence of our community to come together in such a powerful way, because prayer works. Prayer is powerful. And because of this, Sue's life shines courageously, as we all say together. And so it is. All right. Take out what you're going to give and hold it in your hand. Unfold it. Whether it's $1, $10, $100, deeds of property, gold mines, gold, diamonds, platinum. Let's not forget platinum. Unfold it and hold it in your hand, because this is power. This is presence. As we say our affirmation together, God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What we give, we receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.